Hi, I'm Kate and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about palettes, of course, but I want to focus on palettes that are neutral but not boring. So I'm not talking about just your everyday, simple, neutral, all matte, boring palette. While those do have a place in my collection and they're palettes that I reach for, I want to focus on palettes that are neutral but with a twist, or neutral but just extra special for one reason or another. So in my collection, I have quite a few palettes that kind of fit the bill for this category, but I decided to narrow it down to 15. So I'm going to talk about 15 neutral but non-boring palettes. Right. The first palette I'm going to talk about is the Tati Beauty Textured Neutrals Volume 1. My sister gave this to me for Christmas last year and I was super excited about it. It is a pretty neutral color story. There is this row of kind of pink tones, orange tones, but for the most part, it's a neutral palette. There's a lot of things that make this palette special to me. The mattes are beautiful. They blend out perfectly. The shimmers are a very subtle shimmer formula. They're not crazy, sparkly, shimmery, but that's nice for like going to the office, working. And the glitters are actually pretty nice. I'm not a huge pressed glitters person, but I will reach for these. I especially like the Aura glitter and the Poet. They're very pretty. The next palette that I have is the Urban Decay Naked Honey. Now this is a palette that I was not interested at first. I thought it did look boring. Pretty one-toned, which it is, but when I saw it in person and was able to swatch pre-COVID, I thought it was just beautiful. Now these mustardy mattes, it doesn't go super deep, but whenever I make a look out of this, I absolutely love it. It performs beautifully. It is my favorite of all the Naked palettes that have come out. I've actually decluttered all of my other Naked palettes, which I had the first and then 2 and 3, and this one is pretty fantastic. I have 2 Colourpop palettes that fit this description for me. The first one is the Going Coconuts palette. So while this is a pretty pure neutral palette, where it shines is its performance. The shimmers, this shade Cocoa Crush, which is right in the middle, it is just a beautiful shimmer. It's pretty true neutral. You have some warmer tones. This deep brown is really nice. The shimmers are beautiful, but this is just a great neutral palette. The other Colourpop palette that I have is the Making Mauves palette. Now, you could argue that this isn't neutral, but I think you can lean pretty neutral with this, but it is just very special. It performs beautifully. The mattes are great, the shimmers are beautiful. Another great everyday palette. This next palette holds a very special place in my heart. I wore this for my wedding this summer, and it is the ABH Sultry palette. So this is another, very neutral color story, but it's not boring to me. The shimmers are very special, the mattes are beautiful. It's a little more cool tone leaning, and this came out at a time when cool tones were not all the rage, but these shimmers, again, are just beautiful. I love the ABH formula. I know some people say, it's very powdery, there's a lot of kick up, and there is, but they blend out beautifully. They perform wonderfully. I love this palette. Next up, I have 2 from JUVIAS place. I have the Nomad, which is just a great kind of grungy, neutral color story. This shimmer in the middle, I love the neutrals. You can go, very neutral, you can go grungier, you can go warmer. Just a beautiful, unique palette. The other palette I have from JUVIAS place is an all matte neutral palette, and it is the Warrior 2. Now this palette is beautiful. The dimension that you can get out of just these mattes is fantastic. You have a row of neutrals, a row of warm, a row of cool. You can top it with a shimmer or go all matte, but this is just a beautiful neutral palette that has everything you need. One of my most used palettes of 2020 was an unexpected favorite, and that's the Too Faced Sparkling Pineapple palette. Now this one, it's not very big, it's nice, small, compact. Whenever I do a look out of this, I get the same look, but it's beautiful every time. This champagne shimmer just glistens. This gold is very beautiful, the mattes perform nicely, and I just find this, I'm excited when I reach for this, even though it is a basic neutral palette. I just find it very exciting. There's a nice duochrome that has kind of a green to brown to purple shift. And it's just a beautiful little neutral palette. Alright, next up is the one Marc Jacobs palette that I have. This is the Stiletto palette. So it is a cool tone neutral palette. So again, just nice, compact, only 7 shades, but these shimmers are very special. And that's, I think, where this palette shines. So you can go pretty neutral, you can go very cool. There's a nice black to deepen things up, and the shimmers are nice. It's just a nice little palette. Next up, I have the Persona Identity palette. Now I just decluttered the Identity 2. I just found that I didn't get much use out of that. But the original Identity, it's a neutral palette, but there's just a lot of variety in here for being a neutral palette. You can go cool tone, you can go warmer, you can go true neutral. It performs beautifully. This deep brown is fantastic. The shimmers are very nice. It's just a great neutral option. Now I had a couple Pat McGrath palettes that kind of fit the bill. I thought I was kind of between the Bronze Seduction and the Divine Rose, and that one pulls very pinky mauve, so I went with Bronze Seduction. And with this one, if you take out that pop of red and this plum purple, it is a really true neutral palette. But what I like about having this pop of purple, it's, you know, unique to go with the neutrals. I don't see purple often paired with the neutrals. And these special shades are just incredible. You can put them on any look and it transforms it completely. But this is just a fantastic palette all around. My next palette is probably my #1 favorite in my entire collection, and that is the Melt Gemini palette. Now you could argue that it's not neutral, but if you cover up just the greens, you know, it's a pretty mustardy neutral palette. But I find even when I'm using the greens, my look feels very neutral. These are just beautiful mattes. The greens work well with the neutrals. I love every single look I get with this. You know, you see a lot of the neutrals with a pop of blue. I don't love that. I don't find that I pair blue with my neutrals, but the greens pair beautifully, and I love this palette. Next up, I have 2 Natasha Denona palettes. So first up, I have the gold palette, which is my most used out of all my Natasha palettes. Now I know I just said that I don't love the neutrals with a pop of blue. However, this is the exception. These blue shades just pair beautifully with the mustardy tones. It's, you know, a richer kind of tealy blues. The shimmers are amazing. The mattes are fantastic. If you're going to pick up a Natasha palette and you don't have one, I would definitely recommend going for this one. The other Natasha palette that I have that fits the neutral but not boring is the Biba palette. Now this is a fantastic everyday palette, but you have so much variety within the neutrals. You have some cooler tones, you have warmer tones, you have true neutrals. The shimmers, let's see, I'll swatch a couple. The shimmers are just really nice. There's a black, there's some really deep browns. It's just a great neutral palette. I thought I would reach for this one more than I do, but I tend to reach for the gold more often than this one, but I still do love this palette. And last, but definitely a new favorite, it is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. It is the Kaleidos Makeup Futurism 7 Sashimi City. Now I got this for Christmas from my sister, and I just got it yesterday, and it is beautiful. The mattes are lovely, but the shimmers are where it shines. So you have this in the pan. From one angle it looks gold, from another angle it looks pink. I hope you can pick it up on camera, but it is just really special. I put this one all over the lid, and then this other shimmer kind of has a gold to peach to yellow reflect, and I put that more on the inner part of the lid. But they are just super special. I hope you can see through the camera how special they are. But this, I can tell already, is going to be a new favorite. I feel like you can go very subtle. You could go all matte, just wash a little bit of one shimmer over the lid. I think you can make it more dramatic, so I'm excited to play around with this and see what I can do. But this to me is kind of the epitome of neutral, but definitely not boring. So those are all the palettes that I wanted to share with you today. Please like and subscribe and comment below if you have a neutral but not boring palette that I didn't mention. I'm curious to see what else is out there. Thank you so much for watching.